Hey everybody, I am Vince of Geekvolution and you are listening to Vince's blog. Welcome back everybody. And so let's just jump right into it. I'm going to tell you about my fitness routine, but I'm going to tell you about my fitness routine among other things. Now, my fitness routine is basically the big reason why I haven't had a chance to post a Vince's blog. Or not a Vince's blog. This is a Vince's blog. Haven't had a chance to post Horror Movie Rewind. Horror Movie Rewind is on a brief hiatus. It wasn't official because I just didn't have the energy. I've been trying to figure out how to manage my actual life with my fitness goals. And with P90X, I found a happy medium. You know, I started P90X in 2009, June 2009, and I managed to just keep it going all the way through I think it was about 3 rounds of P90X, and then I did P90X Plus. So I could figure out how to be active and be social and be an intelligent individual during P90X. Even the advanced program, P90X Plus. But when I started Insanity, I just got stupid. I worked myself into a state of idiocy. It was P90X is really hard, and if it's the first round that you've done it, it's not easy, and you do work yourself into a state of stupidity. I'm not going to say that you don't, but with P90X, it's primarily weight training, and I figured out how to live with that. But with Insanity, it's primarily cardio, and even though I've lost over 120 pounds, I'm still kind of a hefty cat. So what I'm basically saying here is that for a full 2 months and 1 week of Insanity, I was stupid. I've worked myself into a state of stupidity, and now I'm starting to sound like a broken record. You see what Insanity does to me? I'm only 1 day out, and I'm still dumb. It's hard. Now, the first day of Insanity, that is, blah, blah. I can't talk today. Stupid Insanity making me stupid. But the first day of Insanity, you're supposed to do something called the fit test, and they give you 8 exercises. Well, you do a warm-up, then you stretch, and then you do 8 exercises, and each exercise is a minute, and you're supposed to see how many you can get in that minute. Well, I didn't get I didn't record anything. I didn't record anything on my first day. It was horrible because I just couldn't function. I couldn't write down. But my last day, I pretty much sucked it up, and I wrote everything down on the subsequent days. So I'm supposed to have 5 groups of stats, and I only have 4. But I'll tell you 2 workouts. I'm not going to go through all 8 because I'm sure you don't know what those are. But switch kicks. What a switch kick is you stand, you kick one foot out in front of you, you jump and you kick the other foot out in front of you, and you keep doing that. And I got 130 of those in a minute. That was impressive to me. I thought, wow, I can't believe I got 130. My last day I got 165, so I got a 35 improvement. That's pretty astounding for a guy who used to weigh 350 pounds. Now, there's something called power jacks, which if you can imagine a squat and a jumping jack mixed together, that's what it is. You squat down, you touch your knees to your elbows, and then you jump up, and you basically look like you're doing a jumping jack while you're squatting. So on the first day that I recorded, I got 40. The last time, this most recent one, I got 62. So there's an improvement of 22. That's pretty impressive. I'm just saying, I'm proud of myself for having finished this. Now, I ran into some lady the other day. As I said, I'm not going to finish out the other 6 moves that we do for the fit test, but I ran into some lady the other day, and we were exchanging some information. I forget what it was, why we were talking about Insanity, but maybe it's because I'd finished it and I just wanted to tell people about it. Yay. I don't advocate patting yourself on the back too greatly much, but Insanity was really hard, so I'm happy that it's over. So I was talking to this girl about Insanity, and she said, "Oh, her brother's doing it." She said, "My brother's doing it," and and he's not doing it anymore. I said, oh, did he finish? And she said, no. I said, so he quit. How far did he get in? And she said, oh, a couple of weeks. And I said, well, that's too bad. He should go back and finish it. And then she told me that her brother's a basketball player. In other words, this guy is already at a reasonable level of fit, and he couldn't do Insanity. I, having at one point been 350 pounds, have completed Insanity, and that's just, it's a good feeling, you know, to know that an athlete and you have something, like, I don't want to say that I was better than this guy. Of course, that's, you know, that's not necessarily true. I mean, it just meant more to me, so I finished it. And it's impressive for me. It feels good for me to know that I could do something that an athlete chose not to do. So yeah, that's my that's what I'm saying about Insanity. Now let me compare Insanity and P90X really quickly. Now, Insanity, the thing that I've noticed about Insanity that bothers me is that it doesn't have nearly as good of a stretching routine as P90X does. Now, P90X focuses on particular muscle groups, so each workout has a particular stretch. Every one of them has similar stretches, but every one of them also stretches the things that you're going to be using the most that day. So after a P90X workout, I'd be tired, and I'd be sore, but I wouldn't feel necessarily stiff. After an Insanity workout, they have roughly the same kind of stretching every time. I mean, maybe a couple of different ones, but it's really basically the same thing. And every day I would just feel like I needed to stretch before I even stretched because it wasn't enough. But I have particular muscles in my back that feel like they're halfway locking up. So there's something to be forewarned about. The way I see it is that if you're going to do Insanity, I don't necessarily recommend that anybody do Insanity. I fully advocate P90X over Insanity. But that's not to say that Insanity is a bad program. That's to say that P90X is a little bit more accessible to people because, well, lifting something, you can lift less weight. If you can't lift a 10-pound dumbbell, lift a 5. If you can't lift a 5-pound dumbbell, lift a 3. If you can't lift that, lift a 2. I mean, they make them really small. They make them really big, too. So take that as you will. But with Insanity, you're moving yourself. You are moving yourself. There's nothing that you can do to reduce that weight other than, I don't know, chop off a body part or perhaps, say, lose some weight. But that's the point of Insanity. So that's the reason I recommend P90X is that it's easier to modify. Well, I'm going to take that back. You can modify P90X. I don't think you can modify. I do not think that you can modify Insanity. So that's the bottom line on Insanity. Now, this stuff was so incredibly hard for me. I just couldn't focus. I'd sit down at a computer, I'd try to write something, and it just wouldn't come out. Now I could speak on the fly. I could do this, so therefore you've gotten a bunch of Vince's blogs and you got a bunch of our talk shows out there. And so what I'm saying is I apologize that there's been no horror movie rewinds, but I just haven't had the energy because my fitness goals have just been too great. And it's hard to manage a fitness life that is so intense like Insanity and P90X. And a regular life because, well, here's my schedule for workout. It's at least a 3-hour block. I get up, I have breakfast, I get ready for the day, I stretch out, and then I start the video. And that takes about an hour or so. And then, before the video to start. Right, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, it takes about an hour for things to digest. They recommend to do an hour so that you don't cramp up during your workout and have to stop. So I do an hour worth of prep, an hour for the actual workout, and then pretty much I have an hour's cool down. And that's when I'm just dead to the world. My brain doesn't want to function. I'm tired beyond belief. I can't think. And then I clean up and I go to work. So, and then I come back and I'm too tired to focus. Now, that doesn't necessarily, I'm not selling Insanity to you guys pretty well, I'm noticing this, but that's not necessarily my goal with this one. It's just to tell you that how hard Insanity is. And I don't know if anybody else out there thought that Insanity was this ridiculously difficult, but it really was for me. Because, well, being partially asthmatic And having lived a life of relative no cardio, I'm not going to say I didn't have cardio because when I was younger, I played football. When I was even younger than football, I played basketball. I've had an active life. I was always in soccer or baseball or football or basketball or track and field where I threw shot put and discus and there was always cardio involved in those things. But for me, it was mostly weight training, and that's what I like. That's why I'm such a big guy, is because I've been lifting weights my whole life. And even though I'm a big guy, I've gotten bigger muscles from P90X. So that's what I'm saying, is that P90X is not necessarily a superior program, it's a more accessible program. And I fully think that if you want one or the other, I say spend the extra bucks and go for the P90X. Because even though P90X is hard, I'm thinking that you'll be more likely to finish P90X than you would be Insanity. Even though Insanity is only 2 months and 1 week, and P90X is 3 months and 1 week. And yeah, so P90X is hard. There's no bones about it. You start P90X, you're going to be sore for 3 weeks. The first 3 weeks are going to be miserable. But after those first 3 weeks pass, you get into a recovery week, and the recovery week is almost harder in some ways. But you get to let your muscles relax a little bit more. There's a little more stretching. There's a little more this and that. And even though it's still intense, you manage to make it through. And then when you get to the 5th week, you feel like you can take on the world. I mean, and it's still going to be hard, but it's one of those things that as long as you want it, you have to want it more than it hurts. And I know that this is such a strange thing to be putting on a channel called Geekvolution, because none of this is particularly geeky. But I think that's something that we as geeks should strive for, is healthy living. I mean, it's one of the reasons that it's one of the reasons that geeks get looked down upon, is because traditionally geeks have no idea of fitness goals. They don't care, which I think is not necessarily true. I still don't like sports. I played football when I was in high school and such, but I didn't like it. I did it because my dad wanted me to, and I wanted my dad to be proud of me, so I go out there and I played football for him. But and I don't regret playing football. I think it was a good experience for me. But and there's also certain things to be said for things that are good for you growing up rather than things that you choose to do. So whenever people talk to me about my fitness and they say, "Oh, you're kind of a built guy. You work out?" Yeah, and then I tell them about P90X. I tell them about the success that I've had, and then they say, "Oh, cool." And then they want to talk football. They want to talk basketball, and I say, "I'm sorry, I don't watch sports, and I just don't care." Like, I'll watch a sports movie. I like The Replacements. I like even some like Disney movies like Angels in the Outfield. I'll watch that. Why not? But it's got to have a plot for me to care, and sports movies traditionally have no plot. Sports do not have a plot because they are because it's all competition, and I understand why people like it, but it's not for me. It's not my bag. So yeah. I think that fitness, healthy living, and sports do not go hand in hand. This is almost a podcast topic. Maybe I should talk to Cap about this. We'll have a full discussion. But, because they can't go hand in hand. I mean, if you have to be healthy, you have to be reasonably healthy to do some kind of physical activity. That's understandable. I mean, I had a friend that he's messed up his ankle. He's needed ankle surgery, I think 2 or 3 times now. Just because he leads a rather, I'm not going to say slovenly, that's not nice, but he leads a rather inactive life, and when he does do active things, he has a greater chance of hurting himself. People need to start low and get higher, and I think it's something out there that's good for everybody. I think fitness is something that shouldn't be mutually exclusive to the jock aspect of the high school idea of life. So yeah, well, I'm almost out of time, so thank you guys for listening. I'm Vince, this is Vince's blog, and you have a wonderful evening.